Coming up on Network Africa, Tanzania's opposition leader Tundu Lissu charged with treason. Heavy rains trigger flooding in South Africa's Vaal Dam area and disruption downstream. Plus, Sudan accuses the United Arab Emirates of complicity in genocide at the International Court of Justice. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olandi. We begin in Tanzania, where the opposition leader Tundu Lissu has been charged with treason. And this is coming a day after he was arrested following a rally he held in the south of the country. The charge is connected to his nationwide campaign pushing for electoral reform under the slogan, "No reforms, no election." The country is due to go to the polls in October, when Mr. Lissu is expected to challenge President Samia Suluhu Hassan. When President Hassan came into power for the first time in 2021, after the death of her predecessor John Magufuli, she was praised for reversing some of his more authoritarian tendencies. However, she has since been criticized after some opposition members have been targeted with arrests and kidnappings. In a series of public appearances, Mr. Lissu has been saying that there is no chance of a free and fair election in 6 months unless there are reforms. The leader of the Chadema party wants the makeup of the Electoral Commission to change. He argues that it should not include people appointed directly by the president. In South Africa, heavy rains and extensive flooding have seen emergency services on high alert across the country, while the Vaal Dam, a major water source for over 10 million people in northern urban regions, has exceeded its 100% capacity. The Department of Water and Sanitation, DWS, has opened 5 sluice gates to manage the rising water levels, resulting in evacuations in downstream communities. As sluice gates are opened by authorities, the area around the Vaal Dam underwater are flooded, including Martin Marina Bank and nearby residential areas, with boats moored on the banks. Owner of Martin Marina, Kathy Manton, says this has made business to come to a halt in the area.
Able to work, at least for this week and probably for next week too. And once the water level goes down, we will have a big mop-up operation. We'll have to wash everything down. The water brings with it silt and often blue-green algae, which gets over everything and is toxic. So we have to spray that all down, try and clean everything up, and then move all our equipment back to where it normally resides. So we're looking at least 3 weeks before we're able to start working at all. And wages still need to be paid, and, you know, everybody still wants their bit of money. So it's a loss that you take. There's not much you can do about it. Sluice gates, I think they should have started opening sooner than they did. Department of Water Affairs Flood Management Group tends to maintain the Vaal Dam at a level of 106 to 107%. I don't know, thinking that perhaps we've got to keep every little drop we can with the water concerns we have in the country. But at 106, 107%, we are that far away from being flooded. And then when you get a big rain system like we've just had, there's nowhere for that water to go. So then they start to open sluices slowly, because if they open too fast, they wash everyone downstream of us away. Had they started opening and maintaining at 100%, they would have had a lot more storage area before we and many other businesses or homeowners had the water coming into their houses and properties.
We're getting more reactions on U.S. President Donald Trump's global tariffs. Namibia's Minister of International Relations and Trade, Selma Shipala Musavi, has condemned the U.S. and its decision to impose tariffs on Namibian exports. She says this could create unfair market conditions. While addressing the parliament in Windhoek, Ms. Selma also says the tariff may jeopardize the proposal by the majority of African states to extend the AGOA treaty beyond 2025. The tariffs, expected to affect a wide range of Namibian products, including beef, fish and minerals, could result in significant economic consequences for the southern African country. Since 2001, Namibia has benefited from duty-free access to the U.S. market and over 6,400 products by virtue of AGOA.
This unilateral action contradicts the principles of multilateral trading systems, which emphasize transparency and prior engagements before member enacts decisions that may impact other WTO members. We can only assume that the tariffs will apply to all Namibian products entering the U.S. The products affected by this measures include beef, fish, a number of minerals, among others. As we all know, tariffs are a tax placed on imports and can raise the price for consumers in the importing country, leading to a decline in imports. The impact on Namibia thus means that, due to the price increase as a result of the general and reciprocal tariffs, a reduction in Namibian exports to the U.S. is very likely. The general and so-called reciprocal tariffs on our exports could result in unfair market conditions for Namibian products to compete fairly within the U.S. market. Furthermore, the tariff imposed by the U.S. government may jeopardize the proposal by the majority of African states to extend AGOA beyond 2025.
The International Court of Justice, ICJ, is hearing a case brought by Sudan accusing the United Arab Emirates, UAE, of being complicit in the genocide during the current civil war. Sudan alleges that the UAE has been arming the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, with the aim of wiping out the non-Arab Masalit population of West Darfur. The UAE has dismissed this, calling it a cynical publicity stunt, and is seeking an immediate dismissal. The two-year conflict in Sudan, which has pitted the army against the paramilitary RSF, has led to tens of thousands of deaths and forced more than 12 million from their homes. Since the war began, both the RSF and the Sudanese army have been accused of committing atrocities. And as a result of the war, more than 4,000 people have become newly displaced in North Darfur State. This is according to UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, citing escalating violence around El Fasher, including at the Zamzam Displacement Center. The UN reports that since April 2023, over 400,000 people have been displaced within or from the El Fasher locality as clashes between armed groups continue to destabilize the region.
To Sudan, and update you on the continuing dire humanitarian situation there. Our colleagues on the ground warn that insecurity continues to push thousands of people across the Darfur region out of their homes as humanitarian conditions rapidly deteriorate even further. In the past week alone, more than 4,000 human beings have become newly displaced in North Darfur State, and that's due to the escalating violence in El Fasher, which includes Zamzam displacement camp just south of the city and other areas. As you well know, and we said repeatedly, famine conditions have been confirmed in Zamzam. Families fleeing, including many women and children, need urgent shelter, they need food, they need water, they need medical supplies, but severe funding gaps and logistical challenges are hampering the ability of aid organizations to respond. One partner at Zamzam camp told our colleagues that rising costs and fuel shortages have forced the suspension of water trucking for newly displaced people there. Our humanitarian colleagues say that since April 23rd, more than 400,000 men, women, and children have been displaced within or from El Fasher locality when these latest rounds of hostilities began. Across the country, hostilities continue to put civilians at risk. In Khartoum state, intensified fighting disrupted a period of calm in the western neighborhoods of Omdurman. There are also reports of newly displaced civilians who urgently need protection and humanitarian assistance. And in northern Sudan, a drone attack earlier this week forced the suspension of operations at the Merowe Dam, triggering widespread power outages across several states. The strikes reportedly caused civilian casualties and damaged critical infrastructure, underscoring the growing impact of these conflict on essential services.
In the meantime, a senior World Food Programme official in Sudan is highlighting the huge toll the war is having on thousands of displaced people. Sean Hughes says by any metric, this is the world's largest humanitarian crisis in terms of displacement, and it is the only place in the world where famine is currently confirmed. Mr. Hughes was briefing reporters remotely from Nairobi on the situation in Sudan.
By any metric, this is the world's largest humanitarian crisis. In terms of displacement, 12.7 million people have been forcibly displaced from their homes, over 8 million people displaced internally, and 4 million across borders, arriving to countries that are already facing high levels of hunger and humanitarian needs. 4 out of every 5 people displaced are women and children. In terms of hunger, this is the only place in the world where famine is currently confirmed, and only the 3rd famine to be classified this century. The scale of what is unfolding in Sudan threatens to dwarf much of what we've seen over previous decades. In Zamzam camp alone, which has been under siege for several months, there are over 400,000 people. In the country, nearly 25 million people, or half the population, face extreme hunger. Nearly 5 million children and mothers are acutely malnourished. This is a man-made crisis. Man-made because it is driven by conflict, not by drought or floods or earthquakes, and man-made because of the obstruction of access to humanitarian assistance by parties to the conflict. We need to be able to quickly move humanitarian assistance to where it is needed, including through front lines, across borders, within contested areas, and without lengthy bureaucratic processes. We need to re-establish offices and staff presence across all areas of the country, including the Darfur and Kordofan states, so that we can be close to the people we serve and monitor assistance and the situation as it unfolds. We need to be able to obtain visas for staff and customs clearances for goods and equipment. Humanitarian agencies alone don't have the influence to negotiate this. It requires the world to pay attention and coherent and tenacious engagement from the international community, particularly countries that have influence on those waging war.
Well, neighboring Chad is hosting 1.3 million forcibly displaced people, and that includes more than 760,000 Sudanese refugees who have arrived since the brutal war in their country broke out. UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, recently visited the country to meet with the people who have been forced to flee, communities that host them, and authorities in the country.
On the one hand, we must really make every possible effort for peace to prevail again in Sudan, to steer, to induce those waging war against each other and against their own people, to steer them towards that negotiating table that has eluded us for 2 years now, very soon 2 years. And the second is, meanwhile, the humanitarian operation needs to continue. It needs to continue inside Sudan, for the displaced, for those that are affected by war. It needs to be continued across the border from here, and it needs to continue in support of the refugees in places like Adre, Chad, where I am now, and in other countries hosting refugees. Humanitarian assistance inside Sudan and in neighboring countries is decreasing. Needs are increasing. This trend has to be reversed, otherwise we will see lost lives and more suffering.
Let's take a break out now on Network Africa. Still ahead. Our Africa Tech segment showcases young innovators in Nigeria who are showing their creativity and technical skills. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. The United Nations Assistant Secretary General and UNDP Regional Director for Africa, Ahuna Ezeakonwa, has made an official visit to Channels Television today, meeting with the Chairman, CEO of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo. They both discussed the role of African media in controlling the narrative of the continent's stories. She extols the leading role by Channels Television in becoming a source of credible and reliable information from the continent to the diaspora. In an interview later, she emphasized the need for African leaders to re-engineer their economies to benefit its people.
I don't make any mistakes sometimes. Investment.
We can't say because an aid agency withdraws from a country that people start to die. If that's the case, that's not a country, you know? This is a rich continent. Why can't we prioritize our people? Why can't we say that Africa's money needs to work for Africa's people? We're generating a lot of resources, but a lot of it is escaping. Illicit financial flows, up to $90 billion a year lost. But we then go with a begging bowl for the same money to be returned in form of aid with ties and in form of loans that have very high interest rates, right? So there needs to be a conversation that African leaders need to have with themselves and with the private sector to say we need to re-engineer our economies so that Africa's money works for Africa's people, because this continent has money.
The 2025 Lagos Tourism Niger Brand Chic Trade Fair is set to become Nigeria's largest trade and commerce gathering, with an anticipated of billions of naira in sales. This was disclosed by the Lagos State Special Advisor on Tourism, Arts and Culture, Mr. Idris Aregbe, during an interactive session with micro, small and medium enterprises in the state ahead of the second edition of Lagos Tourism NBC Trade Fair. Mr. Aregbe says the event, which is in partnership with the Lagos State Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture and the Niger Brand Chic, is focused on leveraging entertainment to further drive trade. The event is scheduled to hold between Friday, April 11 and Sunday, April 13 at the Federal Palace Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos, to create more business visibility for MSMEs as well as women in business, with more focus on giving MSMEs visibility.
You know, it's not Lagos. What we're doing is to take advantage of the economic vibe that we have in Lagos today, to take advantage of what the entertainment it is to us in Lagos today, to turn it into, you know, something that we can use to boost trade. And that's what we're talking about. You know, we did it last year. You know, was a, you know, we got a very good result. You know, tourism is about the people, it's about networking, it's about consumption, it's about buying. It's about making sure that you're taking advantage of, you know, you're buying. Lagos has a, you know, very good buying power, and that's what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to see, how we continue to support SMEs to make sure that, these numbers are not, people, just to help people at this time, to see how they can boost what they're doing, their sales, and make sure that, everybody's happy. And I'm sure that, within last year was a very huge success. And, we're having the second edition, we're having most probably the island edition today. We have about 250 vendors. We have some who were part of it last year, and we're also thinking of how to scale up and see what best they can get from this year. So it's also for us to be into, and we also have, Lagosians who are also looking for how to cut their cost and also make sure that they get the best, but of course, at a very good rate. So this is time to come out 11, 12, and 13 to be part of this, and let's, come together and enjoy this. It's about using entertainment to boost trade, and we're actually going to do that. So for me, it's not just about tourism. It's not just about organizing events and party and all that. We should be able to use it to add value and let people be able to seek up some commercial value in this, and that's what I represent.
Business owners are coming to Lagos State. By coming to Lagos State, it means that many people are going to come and shop and buy, increasing the revenue, the GDP for Lagos State, right? And not only that, we're also going to employ hands. Not only that, some of them have opened shop, like you even heard today. Many of them have come here and have opened their shops. So we have more of business owners who are also based in Lagos, and our own other people who are also coming to Lagos. Whether we like it or not, Lagos is the commercial city of Nigeria, and everybody wants to be in Lagos. So this is a place where they're going to come, network, sell, and Lagos State is happy to receive them and also continue to increase their GDP all the time. Guys to Lagosians that come out and see what we're doing. This Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you will see business owners at their best with discounted prices, food, services, kiddies wear, fashion, anything that you want. We have everything there. So come out and enjoy yourself while you shop from small businesses. And remember, we need to buy Nigerian for us to grow Nigeria.
Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. Young innovators in Nigeria are showcasing their creativity and technical skills at the Robotics for Good Youth Challenge 2025, tackling real-world problems. This year's theme, Disaster Response, challenges participants to design robotic systems that aid emergencies.
Young innovators arriving for the Robotics for Good Youth Challenge Nigeria 2025. Taking on this year's theme, Disaster Response, the participants design robotic systems that aid real-world emergencies. From rescuing victims of natural disasters to tackling environmental pollution. Launched by the International Telecommunication Union, a United Nations agency focused on information and communication technologies, the initiative aims to promote robotics and coding among youth worldwide, ensuring that no one is left behind in the robotics and AI revolution.
This event is more than just a competition. It is a platform where creative meets technology to solve real-life challenges. As we witness the incredible talents of young minds from all over the country, let us remember that robotics and artificial intelligence are shaping the future. Today, we are not just building robots, we are building solutions to solve present problems, like climate change, which is a present problem all across the globe. Empowering young people and inspiring the next generation of innovators.
Competing in two categories, junior for ages 9 to 12 and senior for ages 14 to 16, these young innovators showcase a range of projects, including disaster response robots and recycling solutions.
Robotics and technology has actually increased my understanding of the happenings and the phenomena that happens around me in my life. We've designed our robots to help victims of natural disasters, and also the displaced victims, we get them adequate medical care and attention. So being a humanitarian, as I intend to be a medical doctor in future, this is one of the steps in taking in order to build that future. As you can see on the board, Our robot is using an attachment that grabs each and every one of the blocks. The red blocks signify the injured and the green blocks signify the displaced ones. So we'll be taking them one by one, grabbing the green ones and taking them to the refugee camp, and taking the red ones from the middle of the depleted building to the hospital arena.
I was walking one day to school and I saw trash all over the ground. So I was like, why don't I make a recycling game? That was the exact day that my mom told me about the project. So I started working on it. Because I've noticed that many people are polluting the earth with garbage. So I'm making this project to help the world become a better place for us. Remember this, save the city, save the world, you'll save yourself.
Our task was to create a robot that could rescue natural disaster victims from the scene. So we made a robot. We have red blocks and green blocks. The red blocks are for the ones that need immediate attention, the ones that are injured, and then the green blocks are the ones that are okay. So there's a refugee camp and there's a hospital. So the green ones are to go to the hospital and the red ones are to go to the hospital, sorry, and the green ones to the refugee camp. So the robot is supposed to take the red ones to the hospital within 2 minutes. So we had two robots, one to do the green and one to do the red.
This project is to help children of my age to be mentally alert and also for them to also be creative.
Each year, this leading UN-based robotics championship is driven by a global challenge, encouraging participants to develop practical solutions that align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
AI is a buzz topic, as it were, and that is a key area of emerging technologies that we're focusing on. So we're helping to coordinate a number of aspects, including the judging, because the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics is actually under the ministry, under the agency. And we're here as well to support them in terms of logistics, in terms of making sure that this works, because we believe that, if we can identify the right people at a young age, then we can have the success that we want in the future.
The winners of the competition will earn the opportunity to represent Nigeria on the global stage at the AI for Good Global Summit 2025 in Geneva, Switzerland, where they will showcase their innovations alongside their peers from around the world.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.